In this presentation, we're going to cover how to start KDevelop4.x to start your first program. The topics will include creating a new session, creating a new project, creating a launch configuration. We will run configure, which is different than launch configuration. We'll cover run project build. We'll execute the program and then view the program output. Let's go ahead and get started. What we will do is we'll go ahead and start KDevelop. Now I'm starting it without any sessions. It's sort of similar to the first time that the program will be executed in your environment. Now, since I'm recording in real time at fairly high resolution, system performance will be somewhat slow, but typically for most things it won't really matter. Now, the first thing that we want to take a look at is, notice off to the left over here, we have File, System, and Classes. The first thing that you want to do is right-click over here and bring up Projects. That's so that we can see our project when we create it. The next thing, let's go up to Session, and let's rename the session. Now, keep in mind, a session will cover or will hold many other projects. So let's call this Examples. The related presentations will all use the session's example, and I'll put all my projects in that session. Next, let's go and create a project. We come over to Project, click, we see New Form Template. We click on that. A Create Project window comes up, and in this particular install, you don't have a lot of options, but you may see other options if you've downloaded other modules and or using a later version. We click on No GUI, which is just a simple CMake-based C++ program. We'll click on it. Now, for our application name, what we're going to do is call this just simply C output. Is all we're going to do is execute a program that puts a sample output to the screen. It's a console program, so we call it console output, C output for short. The location, this is the default. I'm just using whatever came out of the box to make things simple for the presentation. I hit Next. We have Version Control System. I'm not going to be using that. And now we can go ahead and hit Finish. Now, one thing is you have to make sure that you have CMake already installed. If not, you need to stop, go make sure that's fixed, and then come back and start over. Okay. As you can see, the projects directory, and then we have C output, and then we're creating a build directory, which will have the files that will actually manage the compilation of the C++ program. We go ahead and hit OK. Now, this takes a few minutes. We're all done, or a few seconds. We can now come up to Project and click on our project, and click on the plus sign, and we'll see a list of files, and this is what was just created. If we double click on C++ file, we see the template file that's been created. All this is a simple program to make sure the environment is working so you don't have to type it in. No matter what type of project you're starting, if it's a console type program, bring this up as your starting point, execute it, make sure the project is working, then go ahead and start building your program from there. Now there are several things that we need to do. Let's set up now the launch configuration. The launches is going to describe, the launch configuration is going to describe the environment in which the program is going to execute. Now for the same program, we can set up multiple launch environments so that we can have, we can perform one execution with, let's say, command line arguments and another execution without command line arguments. Now I'm going to add a configuration for the cout project. We come over here and we have to put in the project target. Now this is the executable. By default, the executable is going to be named after the project name if you keep it short. And so we can just press in C and type more if you need to be more selective. And we see right here, this little symbol here indicates that it's the executable. It's very important that you put the executable in this entry. Now let's go over here and give us some sort of title to this launch configuration that makes sense. So I'm going to double click on this and then click on it again, or you can press F2. Just use the standard editing, and I'm going to say no arguments. Okay, because this will be the output launch configuration where, if you notice down here, there are no arguments. I will now go ahead and say OK. We're all set. And now we have a launch configuration. If we come up to run, we can go over to current launch configuration and we can select whichever configuration if you want. If you notice, now we have a name here called no arguments for project cout. And if there is more than one launch configuration, we had to have multiple selections here, and we can pick the one that we want. By clicking here does not execute the program. All we are doing is saying when we execute the program, this is the launch configuration that we want to use. Now the next thing that we need to do is to go over to project and configure the selection. What this will do is build all the programs and batch files necessary to actually compile the program. When we configure the selection, it goes through a process where it looks for what is on your system and builds the best possible configuration based on what's installed on the machine. This will help prevent the machine from hanging if you have one type of program versus another where they do similar things but maybe not the exact same thing. Now, when this pretty much stops, it's done. It does not give like done at the end. It just sort of stops. This is a fairly short configuration, so it doesn't take very long. The next thing we need to do is to go and build the selection. Now, we'll do this a lot. Each time that we make a change, a build process has to take place. This will actually go through and see whatever files have been modified and then compile pretty much only what's needed. So we'll go ahead and click that, and we can see it build, and we say 100% building, still not done, of course. We're linking, build target, and then this will actually print finished, and then we'll know that we're ready to execute. Next, we'll come up and actually execute the program. There's an icon here. We can also go up to Run menu, press the Run menu, and go down to execute launch. They both do the same thing. We'll use them both. Let's hit the menu-based execute launch, and it's going to execute based on our configuration. Now we have hello world, and we're pretty much good. We'll come up here and execute it that way. We're out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and go back over here. Essentially, these are the topics that we covered, and it's the end of the presentation. Thank you.